The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Manfromleng. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, we are continuing with our reviews of the player cards in the Path to Carcosa Investigator Expansion. This is part 3 of our look at the Mystic cards in the box. On this episode, we are going to discuss Book of Shadows Level 1, Grounded Level 1, Spirit Athame Level 1, and Recharge Level 2. There are spoilers throughout if you care about that sort of thing. If you enjoy what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Before we get started, a quick reminder of how we rate cards here on The Whisper in Darkness. The best of the best get an Elder Sign, while the worst of the worst get an Auto Fail, and the cards in between get a +1, 0, or Elder Thing respectively. Cards that you build around or cards that are good in one particular deck get a Bless token, while cards that we believe are destined to end up on the list of taboos or are simply bad for the big game get a Curse token. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the patrons of this channel for their tremendous support. You all rock. If you'd like to be amazing like these people and support the channel's goals and see your name on this list, head over to patreon.com, sign up for a tier of your choice, and claim your rewards. That would be awesome. Special thanks to Cole Monroe Chitty, Nicole Fiscus, and Nate Lost in Time and Space for their contributions to the channel. I couldn't do it without you. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We are making our way through the Mystic cards from the Path to Carcosa Investigator Expansion, and we've been having a great time doing so. A lot of very interesting cards in this box if you are a Mystic player. Unfortunately, I think our good run is about to end in this particular batch. We're going to start off with Book of Shadows, Level 1. It is a 3-cost asset with an Intellect, Skill Icon, Item, and Tome trait. As an action, you can exhaust Book of Shadows and spend 1 resource. Add 1 charge to a spell asset you control. This takes up a hand slot. So the original Book of Shadows came out in, I believe it was the core set. I don't think I ever put it in a deck because it's just not very good. Generating charges with it is just so inefficient. This doesn't really improve the efficiency all that much. You're spending 3 resources, an action, and then an additional action and a resource. So you're spending 4 resources at this point and 2 actions to get 1 charge.
Yeah.
I think the only benefit of this card was that by reducing the XP cost, it allowed Daisy to take it. I think that was the only real benefit of it. I've never played this or its upgraded version. And yeah, what do you guys think?
At least in Daisy, it's playable. Because you could play like a Shriveling and then use your extra action to put a charge on it every so often, because you're going to have plenty of resources with
it's true.
Milan Christopher. So it's at least kind of playable there, but God, is this card dog water. It's so bad.
Yeah, I think it suffers from when the core set was designed. I don't think the designers had a full handle of what the game was going to actually be. When it was designed. And I think what the problem with this card is that it's just really slow. The game just doesn't last long enough, for this card to actually be all that impactful. Because Arkham kind of rewards you for compressing into very few actions, as opposed to having long-term, a long-term plan to keep yourself charged up. Because you go through your deck fast enough that you'll just find your second Shriveling, and then you just play that for 1 action, and then you've reloaded. In fact, we were spending a good amount of time in Uncage the Soul talking about this exact phenomenon. It's like you just set up to reload, and then you're good for the rest of the game. Yeah, it's just the game just doesn't last long enough for this thing to really pay out. Is kind of the problem. It does what it does. I understand why it exists. It's just the game that Arkham turned out to be doesn't reward this longevity.
Yeah. And it's really just due to the fact that you only have 3 actions per turn.
Yep.
And so it's like you can't just spend an action doing this kind of middling thing.
Yeah. Game just doesn't last long enough.
Yeah. And for the 3 resources you pay for this card, you could have just played another Shriveling.
Exactly.
I guess it would have been 6 resources and 4 actions to play another Shriveling. So it's like, ugh, God, it's so awkward.
How would we rate this one?
Oh, this gets a tentacle. Because even in Daisy, the one investigator that would consider it you have Old Book of Lore, which is just so much better.
Oh yeah, because that's what gets you to the thing. Your second
Mhm.
copy of Shriveling. Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
Old
we'll
Book
go
of
tentacle on
Lore is
this one.
just so gas compared to this card.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, that all being said, I mean, this is the time when like anything that added extra charges was like incredibly rare. But even then, like you never got to a point where like there was something that was just incredible to add extra charges to it.
Right.
Maybe Seal of the Seventh Sign. Like maybe, that, but eh.
I debated whether its utility in Daisy would be enough to bump it from a tentacle to an elder thing. But yeah, I have managed to play many a game in Mystic without adding a single charge to any asset, and I have done fine, so this one gets a tentacle. Maybe if you're playing Daisy and you want to play around with this, give it a try, see how it works. She does get the extra action to trigger this tome, so that makes a very slow card a little less slow. But in a Mystic, no way. Like, I just don't have the time or the resources. Like, you can't reduce the cost of this thing very easily. Like, I guess you're playing your Uncage the Soul to make your Shriveling cheaper, so you could play this, but then just play the other copy of Shriveling, and you get 3 charges, and you've taken 1 action instead of 2 and 3 resources, and oh god, yeah, no.
Yeah. It's like charges are valuable, but not this valuable.
Unfortunately, that is not the only card that adds charges in this batch, although we have a couple cards to go through before we get to that particular card. Oh dear. We've just gone from bad to worse. This is Grounded. It is a 1-cost asset with 1 XP, a willpower skill icon, talent composure, fast, limit 1 composure in play. Non-direct horror must be assigned to Grounded before it can be assigned to your Investigator card. As a free triggered ability, during a skill test on a spell card, spend 1 resource. You get +1 skill value for this test. It has 1 sanity on it. Now, the Composures didn't have a great reputation when they were initially released. Many of them are much more playable than this one because for whatever reason, perhaps for thematic purposes, the designers decided that rather than just let you use this on willpower skill tests, they decided that they would limit it to spell cards, which is often the kiss of death of cards in this game when you decide to pick a particular trait and pigeonhole the card to that trait, be it humanoid or non-humanoid is the case in some of the other cards in this game that focus on a particular trait. I have never played this card. I've never been tempted to put this card in any of my decks. What do you guys think about this one?
I'll say one nice thing about it, and that the artwork is beautiful. Other than that,
it is really nice, yeah.
This card is terrible for
Yeah,
a multitude of reasons.
Yeah, I think if the designers published a lot, like significantly more spells that used stats other than willpower, I think this could have found a home.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. They just loaded up willpower onto like 95% of the spells. Like I think we're just finally getting to the point where we finally have some spells that don't always use willpower. With like divination.
Use intellect now. Ooh.
Yeah.
Uncharted territory.
Yeah. So at that point, you might as well just just play Renfeld or boost your willpower. Just don't play this. Don't spend money to boost your willpower. Yeah.
And it's like, if you want this effect, just play the next card we're going to talk about, because
oh baby,
you don't have to continually spend resources to get that effect, and it won't ever go away. So
yeah.
So unfortunately, I think this poor monk here is just he's contemplating the auto fail token, and
no, I think he's past contemplation, and now he's at acceptance. He's just accepted that he's forever an auto fail.
I'm zooming into the image right now. What is that on the tombstone?
I think it's supposed to be like incense.
Incense, I believe. Yeah.
No, but what's carved into the tombstone?
Oh,
Yeah.
I think it's like an occult symbol. I think it's.
I wonder if it's a tentacle. That'd be hilarious.
That would be funny.
Yeah. It's hard
Perhaps
to tell.
the tombstone is for the person who drew an auto fail when they put grounded in their deck, and it failed to save them at an opportune time. And the monk is like, "I told you so. I told you not to put that card in your deck, but you did."
I thought it was because I thought grounded was originally designed as a weakness. Like, you're grounded.
So you have to include this card in your deck.
You have to include this card in your deck because you're grounded. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah, probably don't play this card. It's I believe they even provided an upgrade for this in, was it Edge of the Earth?
Yeah.
When they upgraded all the composures. Man, oh man.
I don't even remember what we rated it back then, but it must have been bad.
No,
I thought... So the thing about Grounded in the upgraded... I remember we talked... One thing we liked about the upgraded Grounded is it gave you 2 Sanity Soak and 2 Damage Soak for 0 cost fast. That was pretty good. I remember we talked about that. The rest of it was still, just as awful. This is a tentacle.
Yeah, tentacles all around for Grounded. There are much better cards to play in this set. The next card, oh dear, we're gonna have a debate about this one. I think this is Spirit Athame or Athame. I know I got in trouble back in the day for my pronunciation of this card, so you can fight me in the comments. I think it's Athame, but who knows. 3 cost asset that costs 1 XP, has a combat skill icon, item, relic, weapon, and melee trait. As a free triggered ability during a skill test on a spell card, Exhaust Spirit Athame, you get +2 skill value for this test. Or for an action, you can exhaust Spirit Athame Fight. You get +2 combat for this attack. And it takes up a hand slot. Now, I know when this set was first previewed, I saw this card and I thought, this is the answer to my Mystic Prayers. It does damage, it boosts skill tests, it does all of this stuff. And then I put it in my deck and I played it and I was like, well, crap. This doesn't do what I wanted. And I have never played it since.
Okay.
What do you guys think about this one?
I get where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think especially as the card pool expands, this card gets really bad.
Yep.
There's so many just better cards that take this card's position. Sword Cane, Enchanted Blade. Like, those cards just do what this card does, which is way better. But when this card was first released, the fact that it was a relic trait was pretty important because you could deal with those stupid, annoying poltergeist enemies that have 3 health. So you could.
Oh my god, you're right.
You could poke at it with the stupid thing, and then you could deal it shriveling damage, and that was kind of a nice, convenient way of dealing with those stupid things.
Oh yeah, this could help you deal with like the bump from 2 to 3 health. Mm-hmm. Yeah, was this thing? Yeah, that's true. Back in the day. Yeah, before Enchanted Blade.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I will agree. Yes,
mm-hmm.
This helped deal with poltergeists, but it exhausts.
It does.
It does.
So if you miss with that
don't
attack,
miss. Obviously,
just don't miss, dude.
Just don't
There's a
miss.
card. There's a card we're going to be coming up on that actually helps you with that.
Like, see, you missed the strategy where you just don't miss. And if you don't miss, this card's great.
This coming from someone who draws an inordinate number of auto fails and failing that curse auto fail.
Hey, listen.
That's because what Nate needs to learn when he goes on vacation this year is how do you become a better Arkham player? Draw fewer auto fails. Like, that's literally how you get better at Arkham.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yep.
And that's why I don't play this card, because it's terrible. Because I draw an inordinate amount of auto fails.
There you go.
And so even the +2 doesn't help me in that regard, because I'm just failing anyway.
Yeah, I think the problem I ran into with this card is like, okay, so you're using it on spell cards alone to get +2, but it exhausts.
Yep.
So it's not something that you can rely upon. It just felt like if it lets you down and you don't have something else to back it up, it feels bad. And then the fact that, the second part, initially I thought, okay, here's I'm spending my 1 XP to get basically something that I can fight with that doesn't take up an arcane slot. But it doesn't deal extra damage, which is, and it exhausts, so you're getting just a +2
Yeah, the fact
bonus,
that
a +2
yeah, the
combat
fact that it
skill
exhausts
bonus. That's
is kind
all
of a
you're
problem.
getting out of
Yeah.
it, and it just doesn't do enough.
Yep.
So think of it like, do you know the card Well Prepared? How like once a turn, or like Well Connected even, like once a turn you exhaust it and you get +2 to a thing. Like that's still like pretty playable. This is that, but for Mystics, it's like once a turn you exhaust it, you get +2 to the spell, the spell you really want to land. There you go. And then every once in a while, you exhaust it to get +2 to a single damage attack. There you go. That's what it is.
Yeah, I feel like if this card was designed in 2024, it wouldn't exhaust to fight.
Correct. Yeah.
And then
yeah, because Enchanted Blade
it wouldn't be as
Sword
bad.
Cane. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
as it stands,
yeah, I can understand like not needing yourself to like boost spells because you got like Redfeld and you've got Holy Rosary and you're at 7. Do you really need another 2? I don't know, maybe. Like when you have a small card pool, I think this thing's fine. I think later you could just take like Enchanted Blade or Sword Cane and stuff. You have better cards that like do the thing you want to do, better. But as generalist, it isn't bad. It doesn't take a spell slot, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, the relic trait does come up. So like that is nice.
Yep. So for your spell slinging Ursula, you got this. Yeah.
Then I guess I'm giving it a bless token for that spell slinging Ursula deck that everybody.
No, this isn't what makes it. It's like Antiquarian that makes that deck. Yeah, but that's later. Yeah.
How do we rate this one?
Gosh, I think if you're going with the sets in order, I'd give this thing an Elder thing. If you already own the rest of the expansions, this card's bad. So I'd give it an auto fail in that circumstance.
I think I'm still gonna go Elder thing because I think like if I think of it like Well Connected or like Well Prepared cards that are still pretty playable and do a similar thing, exhausted to get +2 to something. Yeah, this is still pretty good. I'm gonna go with Elder thing.
Well, if I was rating this card based on how much I've played it, it would get an auto fail. Yeah, maybe I'll give it an Elder thing. Maybe.
Did I just talk you up from the brink?
Yeah,
oh,
maybe.
Man. If there's hope for this card, there's hope for healing. Man, watch us.
Healing is terrible.
I mean,
let's just watch us. But maybe what we should do is next time we run into a healing card, let's see if we can talk Manfromleng up from auto fail.
I just wish this card, like, you know what? While they're tinkering with cards on the list of taboos, and maybe they could do a little tinkering with this one.
No, that's on us now.
From the fight. Just remove the exhaust from the fight. Yeah.
Just use your magic highlighter or your Sharpie, just go, just remove it. There you go.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
I mean, I think you talked me up because there are similar cards that do provide a +2 skill value, and this is a slot that Mystics don't tend to use all that much of. So I just wish it didn't cost as much as it does. Like it feels just too overpriced for that thing. Okay. And then I wish it didn't cost an XP because it just feels like I'm overlooking this card to upgrade other stuff. I'm just like, I'm upgrading my Shriveling, I'm upgrading my other spells, I'm like not spending the 1 XP I need to get.
So what you're saying is it doesn't have down the rabbit hole synergy.
That I was just about to mention that, and that's the modern Mystic builds that just go with down the rabbit hole synergy. This just doesn't fit into that deck at all. So and Enchanted Blade kills this thing dead. So But I'll be generous. And give it an elder thing. You're lucky, Spirit Athame. I'm in a good mood this morning.
Also, according to Google, you're pronouncing it correctly.
Am I? Well, that's good.
Yeah, according to this. Yeah.
So I don't have to fight people in the comments. That's good.
Yep.
The final card in this batch is Recharge. It is a free event that costs 2 XP, 2 willpower skill icon spell trait, choose a spell or relic asset controlled by an investigator at your location, and reveal a random chaos token from the chaos bag. If you reveal a skull, cultist, tablet, elder thing, or autofill symbol, discard the chosen asset. Otherwise, add 3 charges to the chosen asset. So we'll talk about the good first. It's free. It has 2 willpower skill icons, so if you don't happen to need to recharge, great. It gives you 3 charges, which, considering a lot of the cards that came before this, 3 charges was a huge boon. Unfortunately, it is saddled with the text that it can just blow up in your face and destroy the very thing that you were trying to recharge. Now, if it is a shriveling that has 0 charges on it, no great loss. If it happens to be your grotesque statue, which has a charge on it, because you can't have 0 charges on your grotesque statue. Yeah, the fact that this thing blows up, it can blow up in your face, and you've spent 2 XP on it.
Yep.
Like, I understand mystics are supposed to be playing around with things that they're not meant to play around with, and dark forces are at work, but I feel like if I have spent 2 XP on this, it should work. Unfortunately, you have to spend 4 XP for that version, which just goes to show how much the designers really thought charges were worth. Like, 4 XP to get the upgraded recharge, and if it fails, you get 1 charge. And I think if it succeeds, you get 4.
Yep.
What do you guys think about this one?
I want to like this card, but like you said, like, there's just times where you play it and it just does nothing, and then you just sit there and you feel bad.
Yeah, it's one of those where, like, I remember you were saying earlier about Torrent of Power, that you kind of wish there was like a nice like release valve for having extra charges. This would something like this would probably be better in a deck like that, because then you'd have like a reason to generate lots of charges. But like as it is right now, it's like the game has a relatively fixed length. You only need so many shriveling charges. So it's like you play the second shriveling, do you really need the recharge after that? Maybe, maybe not. But what you definitely don't need is to like waste an action blowing up your own spell. Yeah. That's what like I want to like it. But at that point just play another copy of the spell that you want to recharge anyway, and you're probably better off. Play another copy of Shriveling or another copy of Rite of Seeking. Yeah, those are expensive, that's true, but we've already got resources taken care of between David Renfeld and Uncaged the Soul. So like, when you get into the later game, yeah, you're probably fine. One thing that is good about it though is it is the spell trait, so you can find it. So if you play one copy of it, to like reload, to help you with reloading, you'll find it with an Arcane Initiate. So that is one thing it has going for it.
Yeah. I just feel like if you want an effect like this, just play Uncage the Soul. Because it suffers from the same problem as that card, but Uncage the Soul has none of the detriments that Recharge has.
Yeah, it's kind of true.
Both cards require you to either, have the appropriate asset either in play or in your hand. And both are free. Both offer the same amount of willpower icons. But Uncage the Soul just does what it says it does, whereas Recharge will sometimes just do nothing.
Now, it is worth noting that if you have picked up the Forgotten Age box, there is a card in there called Premonition, which allows you to pull a token ahead of time. So you'll know if your recharge is going to blow up in your face before you play it, but you could do that, or you could use the Premonition for a much more important skill test.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, I don't think you should have to play other cards to make a 2 XP card better, or at least reliable. Like,
yeah, I see what you mean.
That's just not a good deal. Now, Premonition is a good card, and you can certainly play it with this, but yeah, I just feel like this card should be able to do it on its own. It shouldn't require other things to patch up its holes, and I shouldn't have to pay 4 XP for that.
Yeah. Yeah, if it didn't have XP, it'd probably be usable.
And if Uncaged the Soul didn't exist in the same box.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know, because it's like, you're like, oh, Uncaged the Soul, great, awesome, I'll put this in my level 0 deck. And then you look at this when you're in your upgrades, and you're like, why would I play this?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's almost as if the designers hadn't quite figured out the value of charges yet.
Like, Recharge is an interesting conundrum where it's like, Uncaged the Soul asks the question, why am I not playing this? Whereas Recharge asks the question, why am I playing this?
Why are you playing? Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah, I want to like it, but yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but back in the day, I believe there was the designers had made the argument that they wanted charges to be hard to come by because they didn't want you just to be able to slap one copy of Shriveling on the table and just run with it for the whole game.
Okay.
I believe that was the argument why they made recharging things so tough. Like, they wanted you to be able to have to draw the second copy of Shriveling and play it.
Okay.
But I'm just wondering, like, in hindsight, I don't understand why recharging stuff seemed like they just overpriced it and just made it so damn hard that nobody bothered doing it, and then realized that, oh, we don't have to do this, we can just play our other copy, or we can just, there's enough like back in the day there was just Shriveling, right? We're looking at a card pool now where it's just like, well, I can Shrivel, or I can Spectral Razor, and I'm going to have enough, or I can Storm of Spirits now, so like all my eggs aren't in the Shriveling basket. But yeah, I just don't understand why recharging things was made so difficult. But
especially because it's slow.
Yeah,
like it's a slow thing to have to do. Right? It's like I have to play a spell, use it, then recharge it.
Yeah, and you got to use it in the specified window, like the window of it's out of charges anyway. So that's losing the spell isn't that big a deal.
How would we rate this one?
Like, I want to like it, but it really does. Like, this exists for a different card game, I think.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah,
because it's like you just don't have the time to do stuff like this in this game. Like, Arkham is just not a game about setting up a board and then like accumulating advantage over time. Arkham is very much a tempo-based game.
Oh yeah.
Like, you get off the gates running, and then you exhaust all your resources, and then if you need to reload, then you've like accumulated enough resources just to do that, and then you get over the hump, and then you win.
Yeah,
it's like you're never like building this insubstantial board that crushes through everything, unless you're playing 4-player or you're doing some weird standalone.
Well, even then, the game doesn't usually last long enough. I think I remember you're actually we're gonna go down memory lane here. I did actually player Andy start with a name. He made an endless scenario. It was basically endless Essex County Express, and I did delve into the slow building Juggernaut. Yeah, I have delved into the slow building Juggernaut type decks where like that was like the one time I built a deck that was designed to be looped. If that makes sense. So it was about get like 15 assets on the board, and then when you loop, you've got like this awesome loop that that comes up of events. So but Arkham, but like that was for literally an endless scenario. Like I built a deck like that.
The one exception is Depths of Yoth, right? Like that's the one truly endless scenario that this game has.
And even then, in campaign mode, you only go to floor 5.
Right.
Yeah, which is not that far, to be honest. Yeah, if you play your cards right.
Yeah, because the scenario doesn't reward you for going any further, right? You just can if you want to.
You just can if you want to.
Yeah.
Plus Depths of Yoth isn't the best example because that one's more like you hit a point in Depths of Yoth where it's just impossible to continue because the skulls are -10, and like no deck is able to deal with that, like no regular Arkham deck is able to deal with that.
Unless
You know what I'm
Jim.
saying? Like
Jim could
unless you're Jim. But you see my point. Like it's
Right.
like the challenge to go farther isn't even like it's not about building a slow moving deck. It's about dealing with -10 skulls,
Yeah, and I've said kind of a similar thing
Yeah.
with regards to like skill icons, right? Where it's like mystics, and in general, you really only need to go to some threshold, and then once you're at that threshold,
You're
anything
good.
you add on top of that is just wasted resources.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So what we're getting at here, I guess, recharge isn't all that necessary because you can just play some second or third copies of whatever you want to recharge, and then worst comes to worst, you loop your deck, and then you keep getting more copies. Yeah. So I guess you don't need to take the downside risk of this, unless it's Gatebox. Then you just build your whole deck around recharging Gatebox, but that card's broken.
Yeah, that card's just stupid.
So rating.
Tentacle. No, not tentacle. Sorry, no. I'm actually gonna do another thing because it's a spell. Okay, it is a spell trait, so you can run one copy of it and it'll do a thing. You can use a 2 XP card to recharge a 4 XP card. That is nice if it means that you can run like a single level 4, Rite of Seeking. It does, you can make it work. It's not complete garbage. So I'm gonna give it another thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a tentacle because it is pretty
That's fair.
bad.
It's pretty awful. But I do see some cases where you can actually this thing can actually help you as a single copy, that you're gonna search out anyway, and you can use it to kind of be like your second copy of a high XP spell that you only run one of. Kinda.
You want to like it, but you just can't.
I know, but it's another thing, because at least you can go that direction. You're not gonna completely shoot yourself in the face, Yeah.
Yeah, I don't spend 2 XP for things to blow up in my face.
I understand.
And
yeah.
Given
but
the
you know what? Just don't draw bad tokens. And
I know.
You're set. Yeah. Just only draw +1s. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was probably designed for a different game. I have played Mystic a lot, and probably the class I have played the most, probably between Mystic and Survivor. I don't think I have ever purchased this card, and I have done perfectly fine. So the fact that it costs 2 XP is, maybe if this was the level 4 version, I would be willing to give it a better rating, but...
Oh, as in there was no downside.
Yeah, if there was no down, okay, the level 4 was like if you fail, if you draw a special token, you get 1. If you succeed, free and clear, you get 4. Yeah. If this one gave you 1 or 3 or 2 or something like that, like 3, I think would probably be fine. If it gave you 1 or 3, sure. And then if you wanted to upgrade to 4 and it gave you 1 and 4 or 2 and 4 or something like that, sure.
That would make sense in the world that we have now where Winds of Power exists, because Winds of Power is cost 2, 1 XP, gives you 2 charges. Just gives you 2 charges. So I could see this being like 0 XP, gives you 1 or 3. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in a Winds of Power world, this is just an auto fail. Yeah. They've changed the value of charges between the time this card was released and later cards, and this one just doesn't look good anymore. So
I'll agree with that. In a Winds of Power world, this is an auto fail.
Well, we made it through that pile of shit. No sugarcoating it, unfortunately. Not a great batch of cards. I mean, they can't all be winners.
Nope, they can't all be winners. Nope.
If I wasn't in a good mood, Spirit Athame would probably have gotten an autofill too, but I am nothing but if not generous sometimes. I mean, I did give anatomical diagrams. I believe I didn't give it an autofill either, so
I think that's true.
But I think I might have been drunk that morning, so
Okay, so we're definitely not recording now, right?
Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode.
Thoughts.
If you enjoy this type of content, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about this batch of cards. Tell us about all of your amazing recharge experiences. I'd love to hear about it.
Even the failures.
Even the failures. Yeah, tell us about the time you're like, I'm going to recharge my shriveling, and then it blew up in your face, you lost your shriveling, and then you lost the game. That's the kind of story I want to hear about.
Yeah, I want to hear those stories. Like, you draw a Crypt Chill, they turn immediately after. You go, oh my god, if only I had an extra shriveling to feed you the Crypt Chill. Yep.
Oh, that would be nasty.
Yes, it would.
You last action recharge, Mythos phase, Crypt Chill.
Lose another asset. Classic. That's like classic Arkham right there.
Yeah, I think that I would flip the table at that point. I think.
Yeah, I'd probably just leave the game at that point. Like, all right, clearly this wasn't meant for me.
But you know what? Next video, we're gonna have the perfect spell to solve all of those problems. We're gonna next episode.
Well, stay tuned for next episode, and we will see what the Mystics have in store. That's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromleng@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromleng. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.